When you hear the rhythm, start to move.
Hi everyone, my name is Varya and this is Shameless Careers, a podcast about career change. Today I'm interviewing Sergey, who has a wealth of career experience. Sergey has done a number of career pivots, which resulted in his experience in strategy consulting at Accenture, product management experience in research and advisory firm Gartner, and equity research at HSBC. Sergey has also done an MBA at London Business School and has an experience of starting his own company. And as of now, Sergey is a freelance strategy consultant and an executive coach. So as you can see, loads of career pivots and loads to talk about. So Sergey, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, thank you, Varya. It's a great honor to be here.
And so looking back at all the experiences that you've had that I've mentioned in the beginning, what were the main guiding principles for you as you were making these career switches? And which of these principles, based on your experience right now, would you say were correct and kind of stood the test of time? And which ones would you question looking back and, would not recommend to others to follow them?
It's a great question. If I go into great details, the answer would probably take the rest of the podcast. So I'll try to group those principles into three large buckets. One that were true then and true now. Second, those that changed. And the third one is the new principles that emerged from the experience. Which one would you like to dive in?
Let's start with the first one.
The principle is simple. It's like if you're considering a move, it would make a lot of sense to move either because you're going to learn something new, something that will drastically improve your career prospects, your personal growth, your professional growth. And this is especially more important at the early stages of your career. Or the other one is the earning. It makes sense to make a move if you're going to monetize your current experience and make a multiple of what you're making now. It doesn't make sense if neither of this is true, right? It doesn't make sense to move. So in short, the principle is you got to be learning or earning, or ideally both when you make a move.
What if there is a trade-off? And could you tell me more about this experience of this career move that you kind of felt was not right when you made it just for the salary increase?
Yeah, that was fairly early in my career. After the first 3 years at IBM, I was headhunted. That was the first experience I was headhunted by a very similar company. That's what I thought was similar at the time. Xerox, and they offered me a triple of my salary. When you're in your 20s, suddenly a lot of cash falls on your laps that is hard to resist. Also, the biggest discovery came later, that the money thing, the euphoria that coming from new money, how quickly that evaporated. And I still remember that feeling of incredible boredom. I was not learning anything new. In fact, I was 100% contributor. I was bringing in my experience, a relationship with the clients, and all the learnings from the previous job. But I was not learning anything else. And that was incredibly boring, especially when you're in your 20s, when you're supposed to invest in your long-term career. So I don't regret making that decision, although at times I did. But looking back now and reflecting, I think it happened in the right time of my career to understand that money is not everything. And a learning versus earning principle, personally to me, especially the first half of my career, learning was dominating. It was a lot more important than earning.
Yeah, because it's kind of an investment in the future earning, right? The more you learn in the beginning, the more you can capitalize on this later on. So probably early in your career, it's a bit too you shouldn't focus just on the earning element for that reason.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so let's move to the second principle that you've mentioned around I believe you've said it was a culture fit, right?
Yeah, this is the things that didn't hold true over the years. So kind of my at least my assumptions around the importance of cultural fit, priorities, personal priorities, and relationships at work. As you're young and you think, okay, this is just a job, right? I do my job well, I get paid, I live my life. The reality is, and I said with people, kind of in reverse order, you spend 8 to 10 hours a day with your work colleagues. You only spend a fraction of that on your sofa in your living room or at the dinner table with your partner and family.
Mm-hmm.
So however you look at that, your work relationship is incredibly important. So now when I thinking of new project or clients, I'm looking at the people first and foremost. What kind of people, how the working relationship is going to look like. Number two is cultural fit. You would assume that all corporates are the same, and moving from one to another culturally is not a big deal. And that is true to some extent, but only to some. In reality, corporate cultures are vastly different. And if you are a good fit to one company, it does not necessarily mean you're going to be a good fit to the other.
Can you give an example? Because, I think in theory, it's hard to imagine. As long as the company is not toxic, to me, it's like, yeah, sure. Like, why is cultural fit so important?
Well, yes. Probably the biggest difference, what makes the people's life, is the mindset. Like fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset is basically, this is what I do. I've done it a million times. I'm not going to try anything new because I never try that. So if I try that, I'm going to fail. Therefore, I will never going to try. Growth mindset is, right, this is a new challenge. I have not tried that, but I have done something similar, and some skills are transferable, so I can take that risk. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be something new. I'm going to learn something new. Right, so that kind of risk-taking attitude it differs from company to company.
What would be a good way to assess this? Because I can imagine that during the interview process, it's so hard to assess this finer nuance. But to your point, it's so important because you spend so much time at work, and it should kind of fit who you are, your mindset, etc.
Yeah, well, of course, every company declares their set of values. Reality is somewhat different. Values of the company is what people actually do, how they behave in specific situations. So if you want to discover what the real values are, and I'm not necessarily saying they're different, but there are nuances, right? If you want to discover that, if you want to understand what the culture actually is like, the best way is to shake your network. Find somebody who already in that company, ask them for a coffee, and ask them questions, what the life is like at the company.
And moving to the third principle that you've mentioned around the role of coaches in your career path and your career decisions.
Yeah, it's a great question. And for a big chunk of my career, I was skeptical about executive coaches. You're so embedded in your day-to-day life, the stress of deadlines and deliveries, and you just think, how would somebody from the outside can help you navigate the corporate jungles that you have in front of you? Luckily, I had incredible career counselors in my consulting days. Incredible. And I learned to understand the value of the professional advice that is given in the right time, in the right place, from the experience of somebody who's been through that, but also who can keep some kind of a detachment from your situation and give you a different perspective on things. And that's what coaching does. If you boil it down to three things, it's space. It gives you space to think what's important to you, like find an hour in your busy diary and dedicate this hour to yourself with a trusted partner. 2 is experience. You learn from someone else's experience, not necessarily from your own mistakes. That saves you a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of trouble. And number 3, and this is perhaps the most important one, is the perspective. You, by definition, see your own perspective, and your perception of things may and will differ from other people's perspective. So having somebody else offer you second opinion or different perspective has an incredible value.
Let's take an example from your path. For example, one career pivot that you have made was from strategy consulting to equity research. And you can argue that this is a cross-industry shift that, yes, some people who are thinking about career change may be considering. So as you think about switches in the industry, what type of things you need to think about and consider? And yeah, how can you de-risk this move?
Moving from consulting to banking, again, it was due to headhunting. A headhunter came to my life, and I never done any of the equity research. And I knew of financial models, but was not doing that professionally. We had a long chat with the guy, and having the growth mindset helps. So my thinking was, all right, this is a new thing. I haven't done it. However, I've done something similar, and I have this incredible useful set of tools from consulting days that can be useful and that can create a lot of value for the clients. And also I can learn a few things along the way. And to me, that was an incredible challenge. It was an interesting challenge to take on. Moving from consulting to banking sector could be scary, but I was just so excited. It was a great move, no matter how you look at it.
And as a lot of people also are struggling with finding their passion, and do you think that being passionate about what you do is important? And what advice would you give to people who haven't discovered what their passion is?
Wow, that's a deep question. Passion, important in life, is good to have one, right? Because if you take it out from your life, what do you have left, right? It's like not having salt in your meals. However, passion on its own is not going to sustain you. What do I mean by that? Let's say you're passionate about running a marathon. You train hard, you read lots of stuff, you have a healthy diet. The day of the marathon comes, you run 10K, you run 20K. After 30K, how much passion for running do you have left in you? Or do you think about passion at that moment? On the last leg of the marathon, all you really want to do is stop, and that's where the commitment, determination, discipline, all the other things that you built in preparation for the marathon, that kicks in, and that gives you that endurance. And the same is true about the career. Passion gives you a kick, helps you pivot in the right direction. However, to be successful, you have to build other things. And it's the discipline, determination, and commitment that will make a difference at the end of the marathon or in your career.
So passion is important for setting the right direction, but then you can't rely just on passion as a main fuel. You have to rely on all these other things.
True. It's like having a lighthouse in the sea.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great analogy. Let's go even deeper and ask about purpose. So right now, a lot of people are talking about the fact that purpose, having bigger purpose in your career is important. Again, would you agree with this? And how do you define, and if yes, how do you define this purpose for yourself?
I would say purpose is important in life, And I would distinguish life and career because it's not one and the same. But different parts of your career may serve a different purpose. And sometimes you only see in reflection back and understand that those things happen at the right time in my career for the right reason. You may not see it that way as they happen, as the life unfolds in front of you, or your career unfolds in front of you. But as you look back on your career and you say, well, actually, you know what? It's good I've done that decision. It's good I've made that mistake. I've learned from that. And that helped me to navigate and narrow down and understand my purpose better, right? So I wouldn't put the purpose as the only thing. It's important, but it's not the only important factor.
And you have mentioned to me in one of the conversations that you've had that different phases of the career may have a different purpose. So looking back, how do you describe what was the purpose for you at different stages of your career path?
Yeah, well, roughly I would break a career into 3-4 phases. On the early stage of your career before 30, I would advise people to try things out for themselves. Try as much as you can. Don't get stuck in the box so early in the early days. Looking back at myself when I was 20, what I was thinking then, would I know my purpose in life? Would I expect myself to know my purpose in life at 20s? Probably not.
So it's a trial and error, inevitable, right?
It's inevitable trial and error. And even, and it's not just me, if you look at memoirs of great people, they all talk about the same thing. The most recent book I read from Obama, The Promised Land, and he mentioned that a lot of people, when he became president, told him, the moment I saw you, I knew it. I knew you're going to be a president. You were destined for that. And Obama is very candid in his book. He's saying, well, I never knew that. In my 20s, I had my values and my beliefs. Did I think I'm going to be a president? No, I didn't think so. And I would advise people at the early stages of their careers not to overthink. Try different things. See what resonates with you. You will find more about yourself by doing things, by seeing what you love, what you hate, by making mistakes. There is a bit of a stigma attached to making mistakes. Nobody likes to admit mistakes. However, that's where we learn the most. So go out there, fail fast, learn from your mistakes. That's what I'm going to say for the early part of the career.
Mm-hmm. And moving to the later parts, how does the dynamic change and how does the purpose change?
Okay, as you learn from your mistakes, as you learn what matters to you, what resonates with you, on the kind of before 40, that's a great time to build on that. Find your niche. Find your niche on the market. That's the purpose of the second stage. And as you move further, you probably want to, it's true for me, but I think it might be true for many other people. You may want to think on, how can I give back? How can I share with other people what I've learned? How can I be useful to them? How can that experience that I built be coded and transferred to people I care about? And perhaps I'm not at the retirement stage yet, but I think if you accept that that purpose, then your life after retirement may be a bit easier in the way that you've learned how to give back and you learn how to create value by giving advice, coaching, for example.
How, as people navigate their careers and go through the stages, what advice would you give to them to stay confident and believe in themselves and not become a victim of self-doubt. Because I'm thinking, if we're speaking about a linear career path, it's easy to be confident. Your confidence grows with every day of the experience in a certain area. The moment you start making pivots, you're becoming a newbie in a certain area, and you're questioning whether you've made the right choice. The mistakes that you've mentioned come into play. You also reflect whether you've made the right choice or not. So how do you stay confident and preserve self-belief as you're making those changes?
The media industry, the movies portray heroes who's got no doubts, who got the purpose in life, who got the determination, and who know the reason they exist. Life is a lot more complex than that. And interestingly, our brains evolved in a way that they're almost hardwired to think of the worst case scenario at all times. And this is done to protect us. So we have to learn how to accept that whatever happens, whatever move we consider, whatever the new beginning or new challenge we look at, the first thing we're going to hear from our brain is how things can go pear-shaped. Then, let's say you're leaving for an important meeting, like a podcast, and you're late, and then you think, oh, I'm late, my boss is not going to be happy. Then your brain plays worst case scenario, your boss is going to fire you on the spot. Then the next worst case scenario is like you're going to be unemployed forever. You're going to be out of money. You're going to be living on the street. You're going to die. You're going to end up in a cemetery. So all that really happened is that you're a couple of minutes late, and already your brain takes you all the way down. So learning how to accept that's how our brains are hardwired is a big learning point for pretty much everyone. And the higher you progress in your career, the bigger the challenges you face, the more loud that voice is going to be. So the trick is, and maybe our audience can take this away from this kind of conversation, is to treat it as some kind of commercials on the radio. Imagine you have a nice day, great weather, you drive in a car, great music is playing, you are in the zone, and then suddenly a loud voice is saying, no, this is the only one and only promotion you have to buy now, terms and conditions attached, right? Do you react to that, or you just keep driving? Yeah, you just know it's just there. Just learn how to acknowledge. Yeah, you just acknowledge it's there. You acknowledge it's always be there. That's how things work. But you keep doing what you're doing, right? You need to know what's important to you, what your values are. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing, and you're doing it anyway.
Can coaches help with confidence?
Yes. The short answer is yes.
How do they do that?
Now, confidence comes from a number of things. One is your experience. Second, from the support you have. And most importantly is your values, how well you're connected to your values. If you know the reason why you're doing what you're doing, it's you can practically tolerate anything. And then coming back to our marathon example, and I haven't done the marathon myself. I've done half marathon. When I was doing it, I was doing for a specific charity because some tragedy in the family struck, and I wanted to contribute to the cancer research. And frankly, after 15K, I wanted to stop. I just wanted to stop. That's it. But then I remembered why I'm doing this in the first place. Why this was so important to me that I ran this 21K. And I continued, and I did that.
So tapping into your values to get more confidence. And what type of values from your coaching experience have you observed among people? Because values can be very abstract term, especially if you apply it to a career. What type of values can be driving you?
You can only discover, let's put it this way. There are two ways of discovering your values. The academic way, So you go to, let's say, London Business School, and in my program, there was a big chunk of leadership development. When you look at your values, what makes you, what makes you tick, and that's all great. It was an incredible experience, actually. The other way of doing that, of discovering your values, is when they get into clash with something. When you suddenly realize that there is such a mismatch, such a clash between what makes you, what you believe in, and what's actually happening, that you feel you will be a broken man if you stay, if you do nothing, if you say nothing. And when that clash happens, then you know what your real values are.
And what have you discovered in this regard about yourself? What are your values that are driving you in your career?
Great question. Thank you. One is how helpful I am to other people. Now, second, being true to yourself. And my number 3 value is like learn and have fun, right? So that life is short. You have to have some space to enjoy it, right? It's not all about career, about money. It's also about enjoyment and having healthy relationships, having great friends, having time to enjoy life is also important. So these are the 3 things that, to me, I would call values.
And there is such a paradox that, especially early on in our careers, we're often kind of blinded by the notions of being successful, working for a prestigious company, etc., etc. And now, the more I speak with you, with others, over time, people realize that what we've just discussed, like values, being who you are, being authentic to yourself, is much more important than success, the notion of success that is so important to us at the start.
Well, this is a great comment, and what I'm going to say is the external attributes people assign to success somewhat important, especially at the early stages of your career. People want to buy a nice car to show off, or watch, or house, or have a badge, have a brand on their CV. That's all good and valid, but that's external attributes. Take that out. If you take that out from their life, what will define them? What would define you as you if you don't work for a big corporate anymore? And I've seen a lot of people throughout my career who attach their identity and their success and their self-worth to the position they hold, to the brand they work for, so that when it's been taken out of them for one reason or another, they were lost. They were lost like ships in sea without any means of navigation. That's a difficult place to be, right? So it's so when we talk about success, let's also talk about the inner factors. What you believe is a success. Let's say you live your life. You are now hopefully 100 years old. You're about to die. You look back. What will be your definition of success? Will it be the same as when you were 20s? Would you care about what car you were driving then? That car will probably be 50 years old and destroyed and sold, right? It will turn into dust. Same with all other external attributes. Some companies don't live that long, right? So you maybe work for a great company at the time and now it doesn't exist anymore. So would you still think it was a success to work for a company that nobody knows existed? Or would you think, well, I have a great family and great friends and I help so many people. So many people in their life, so that when I look back, it's like, wow, I actually had a good life. So the definition of success can be personal if you look at your internal values, and for everyone it's going to be different. Externals, yeah, they matter, but only to some extent.
Mm-hmm. And so we have touched upon a number of topics where a career coach can be helpful. Is there anything else that we haven't touched upon where what a career coach can help with, and when should someone see a career coach?
Great question. I would say that if you ask a question when to look for a career coach, then it's probably the time you need to see one.
If we're dealing with an issue of career change, how can coaches help? So we have touched upon confidence, discovering your values. Or what other tools coaches may provide to help one address this question?
Well, there are different coaches and different programs. I can talk for myself. Personally, I believe in phases. So I follow the stage 1, where we build the foundational skills of problem solving, navigating the political landscape, connecting to your values. As we move on from that stage, and they have those skills that they didn't have before, my coaching becomes more non-directional, and it helps them to discover the right solution to their problem on their own with my help. And as we progress, and as they progress through the corporate ranks, as they get the promotions, the challenges, the nature of the challenges also change, right? And what I'm saying is important to find the coach that is right for you. And I would advise to look for 3 things. One is compatibility. Would you trust that person? Because you have to create the honest space. Experience. Is that person experience valid and valuable and useful and relevant to your situation? And number 3 is perspectives. Would that person give you the perspective that you're missing? If the answer to all 3 is yes, and by the way, this is not an easy test. This is a really difficult test. If the answer to all 3 is yes, you definitely should try it.
And based on your coaching experience, what is the issue that people mostly struggle with in their corporate career journey, and what advice would you give to them?
It's a good question. It's hard to kind of narrow down to like, these are the 3 things everybody is struggling, right? Because everybody is different. However, there are certain patterns and certain similarities. I would, out of the host of the problems, I would probably single out 3 that kind of I see happen more often than others. One is strategic thinking. We are not trained to think strategically. You have to take, if you don't do the MBA, if you don't work for strategy consultants, most probably you don't have that skill. You can be a very clever person. It doesn't necessarily mean you have a strategic thinking skill. Second, the second is transactional versus relationships. A lot of people at work act as a function, and a lot of communication falls into a transactional space. I do this, you do that. Very few people look beyond and see, well, actually, we're working with real people who's got real worries, real doubts, their priorities, and we try to do something we try to build something together, and helping people build that empathy skills, I think is very important. And the third things, and we talked about things, the common patterns, right? So the first one was strategic skills, second was empathy, and the third one was your values, connecting to to yourself, to your values, and I would call it as a leadership. This is important because as you progress throughout your career, being your authentic self, knowing your values, it becomes more and more important because people that work for you, they see you for what you are. You simply cannot hide. Your colleagues, your employees, they read you. And if you're not authentic, the level of respect you command will probably diminish. And the level of respect is directly correlating to the success of the project initiative that you're running. So if you want to be successful as a leader, you have to be an authentic leader in the first place.
Thank you. I'd love to switch gears a little bit and ask you about your experience with the MBA. A lot of people, as they're thinking about career changes, take this route and go and do an MBA to hopefully discover what they want to do next and pivot to a different career path. Mm-hmm. What has your experience been with MBA, and is an MBA a useful tool for career pivots?
Almost 100% of the business school population, almost all the students, one way or another want to change. That is one of the underlying factors, and is the common theme. There are very rare exceptions to this rule. Is the sponsored people who, like, their consulting firms are paying for them and they have to go back. But most people come thinking to make some kind of change. Mm-hmm. Now, the biggest discovery that everybody makes is that a change can be one jump, two jumps, or three jumps, right? What do I mean by that? You can have one jump, change industry, but keep the same role. Or you can make two jumps, change industry and role. Or you can make three jumps, a country, industry, and a role. And everybody thinks, everybody who goes to MBA program, somehow there is a common belief that MBA is that kind of a golden key that that will open all the doors, and you can make the three jump: change country, geography. Change geography, industry, and role. In reality, you have to choose two. Most people change only one, and it's important to understand that, right? It will help, but it will not be answer to all questions.
Right. So it would be, you need to be realistic about the number of changes you can...
The number of jumps you can make, yeah.
Yeah. Once again, switch gears and ask you about your experience of going from a corporate career into entrepreneurship. So there was one moment in your career path where you left a corporate job and you tried to build your own company. So could you tell me more about it, and what have you learned from this experience?
Well, I was made redundant by Xerox when I was 26. I had my own apartment. I got the money. I didn't have to worry about anything. I was single. And I thought, you know what? I want to do what I want to do. I want to build a web design agency. And, you know, I had great people, designers and engineers. And at our peak, we had like 11 people on a payroll. It was a very simple business model. People asked to build a website or a portal, and we jumped on the project and we were doing it. It was extremely exciting. Financially, it was not as good as a corporate job I had before, but I've learned a lot. It was an incredible experience. And later on, when I moved to Accenture, that experience was extremely useful. So I made one jump. I changed the country, but in essence, I stayed in the project-based roles, delivering projects. So it just like the scale of the project changed, right? Mm-hmm. And having that simple business model actually worked. Great idea is good, but there is like a symmetry of great ideas. 9 out of 10 startups fail for a reason. So my advice would be to focus on what can you execute extremely well. Because great execution makes a big difference whether your startup is going to survive or not.
A lot of people who want to start their own company, do you feel that they have some kind of misconception around entrepreneurship based on the experience that you've had?
Yes. The short answer is yes. The most successful people in corporate careers, the more they believe they can do a startup. And again, the media idolizes the founders, but don't necessarily share their pain, blood and tears that they go through. And my take is that founders is a very lonely place. My experience of working and mentoring founders, I can tell you, these are the loneliest people. The CEOs of big corporations and the founders, they have something in common. These are the loneliest people on the planet. They have a pressure from investors, people who give them the money and who want to know by when things will be done, delivered. They will see the revenue, they will see their profits, and they put constant pressure on them. From the other hand, they have executive team. So the CEO finds itself in doing this balancing act, being a fulcrum point between these different things, on top of everything else that needs to be done, like giving promises they cannot fulfill to the investors, asking the executive team to deliver what is frankly very often beyond their capabilities, and accepting all the pain and all the blame and all the mistakes as their own. A lot of people don't know about that, and I think there should be a conversation around that, so people who want to go into entrepreneurship have a clear idea and open eyes about what it is and what it is not.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sergey, for being here. I really, really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a great pleasure to be here. Thank you, Varia.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Subscribe, share this episode with a friend who's thinking about a career change, and until next time,
When you hear the
be
rhythm,
shameless.
start to move.
But according to our investigators' report, we find that